Okay, howdy y'all. I'm gonna try an experiment here and hopefully this will work out. I am going to record a video and upload it to the cloud or to an email, and then you'll be able to watch it later. Okay, so I have a PowerPoint presentation I'd like to share, and so let's go to share screen here. And we need to go to PowerPoint. All right, so the name of this presentation is Evolution of Renaissance Painting. All right, so let me look at my notes. So in a relatively short period of time, we see an amazing evolution from one-dimensional images you see in the 13th century. For example, this image from an illuminated manuscript. Move this somewhere else. Yeah, down here. An illuminated manuscript from the late 1200s. So what you can see is just everything looks one-dimensional. And then we move just 25 years after this was done to the year 1305 with Giotto. And Giotto in the 4th century, which is the beginning of the Renaissance, who pioneered the thing which we called the vanishing point, which gives the illusion of three-dimensional space. And so you remember that from this painting here, this fresco called Lamentation. And then moving on to the complete illusion of three-dimensional space and three-dimensional realism that you see in those magnificent masterpieces from the 16th century Italian masters and Dutch masters. The bridge between Giotto and Raphael is Jan van Eyck, a 15th century Dutch genius who perfected the next crucial step in Western art. That step is oil. So here it is. This is what's called the Arnolfini Marriage by Van Eyck from 1434. Okay, so let me repeat, that's 1434. So this thing is 600 years old. So just about 100 years after Giotto, you get what you see here is something that is only hinted at even in the work of Giotto, and that is paintings that are almost photographic in their realism. So this is the first of those great masters, Van Eyck, a Flemish painter who perfected the next great innovation in art, oil painting. Up until Van Eyck, most paintings were done with what's called tempera paint. That is a pigment mixed with egg yolk. The problem with tempera is that it dried quickly, meaning that if you make a mistake, you basically have to start over. Was there some way you could make a slow drying paint? Van Eyck, after dozens and dozens of tries, hit on a mixture of linseed and other nut oils combined with the pigment. The result was almost miraculous. And that's what you see here with the Arnolfini Marriage. By the way, the dimensions of this painting are 2 feet, 24 inches by 32 inches. So basically 2 feet across and 3 feet down. Now that's not very big. I think that's probably about the size, probably a little bit better than, a little bit bigger than 2 laptops stacked on top of each other. 2 open laptops stacked on top of each other. So not that large. So this was a triple innovation. One, it solved the problem of paint drying too quickly. Two, the oil-based paints had a deeper, more resonant quality, and you can definitely see that here. And three, the oil mixture without pigment could be used as a glaze that would add even more depth and resonance. Van Eyck would add several layers of glaze before, during, and after adding the after the color. So what you see here is literally hundreds and hundreds of layers of paint and glaze, and it's those layers that gives it that, you know, astounding, realistic, rich quality to it. And well, anyway, let's talk about this painting. So this painting is about a marriage. Okay, so you've got the Arnolfinis here, and they are you know, basically celebrating their marriage in paint. And there's a legend out there that this is the actual marriage contract, that instead of a marriage contract at the courthouse, this painting itself functions as the marriage contract. Now, the reason why scholars believe that is that there's no record of an Arnolfini marriage, you know, in 1434. So several scholars posited that that this masterpiece is the functions as the marriage contract, but far more scholars are really dubious about that. But I do think that makes a really good story. And there's all kinds of cool stuff in here. You know, you've got lots of metaphorical elements in the painting. For example, the dog here representing fidelity. And then you've got right here, you've got some, am I sharing the screen? Yeah, I am sharing the screen. Good. Okay. And then you've got eggs here behind Mr. Arnolfini here. You can probably guess what that means. That is fertility. And lots of other interesting things here. So note the folds on her gown and the folds on this extremely rich, like, sable coat. And then several students have noted that she appears to be pregnant in the painting, which means, you know, they may have had sex before their marriage. But what you should know about Renaissance customs is that the betrothal was kind of the legal part of the marriage, and so couples would often have sex immediately after the betrothal. So the betrothal is what mattered legally in the marriage, and so they might have sex, and so you see that here, right? So they might have had sex after the betrothal. Now, I don't know if they had sex before the betrothal. That's between Mr. and Mrs. Arnolfini. None of my business. And then you've got the bed behind them here. You know, and other things that you should note about Renaissance living conditions is that in these very small houses, you know, it might have just been one big combined room. So here you have what appears to be like the living room and studying area combined with the bed, and so they would close these blinds, you know, during the day and only open them. And then immediately in front of the Arnolfinis here would be maybe the kitchen and dining area. So these living quarters were extremely cramped. Okay, but some really cool stuff that you'll see here is on the back there. So let's go back one. Okay, so what you see on the wall here, so you've got this really elaborate chandelier with one candle burning. And on the wall, you see the all-time greatest signature on a painting. Now, actually, before Van Eyck, it was extremely rare for artists to sign their paintings, which might seem strange to us in in the 21st century, because we're so accustomed to seeing artist signatures on the paintings. But it was extremely rare before Arnolfini, before Van Eyck, and then after Van Eyck, you see it all the time. Artists signing their work. But what's interesting about this is that the all-time artist signature is this one. Probably the one that probably best comes closest to its greatness is a painting by Caravaggio, where Caravaggio's name is written in the blood of one of the apostles at the bottom of this scene. So that's pretty bold. But here is the signature. This is a close-up of the signature. And it is both a signature and graffiti, okay? And so what it says here, and you can probably say it, Johannes de Eyck verwit Hick. So you see this, look at this J, okay? Look, this is the J, and then OHANNES and then Fuit, Fuit, Hick, HIC, which literally means Johannes or Jan van Eyck was here, okay? And this is the date, 1434. And so I pride myself on having a really nice signature, when I sign my checks and sign my name to legal documents, because I practiced for hundreds of hours back when I was a 10-year-old. Because I saw this signature from a ballet dancer that was so elaborate and so beautiful. I was like, I want one of those. So, but it ain't like this. This is redonkulous. Okay, who can have a signature like that? So there's the signature. And what you should know about this signature is it's about 1 inch wide. Okay, so that's really amazing. And then even more amazing, and the thing that has caught the attention of people for hundreds and hundreds of years, is this thing here, which is a mirror. Okay, so if you go back and look at the painting, you see the couple in the foreground, and then, well, you can see the use of the vanishing point, right? Okay, so the lines on the floor here will disappear into a vanishing point, and it looks like that vanishing point would be right in the middle of this mirror, which is pretty freaking awesome, actually. So here we have the mirror, and then we have a close-up of the mirror here, and what you see in the mirror is the backs of the Arnolfini couple. So, right, okay, so there it is. So there's Mr. and Mrs. Arnolfini, and there you see their backs in the mirror. But what's interesting about the mirror is that there are two other figures in the mirror. So here's one person, and here's another person behind that person. So can you guess who this person is? It's the priest who's doing the vows, okay? And then the figure behind the priest, can you guess who that is? It's Van Eyck, okay, who puts himself in his own painting, okay? Kind of like, Hitchcock putting himself in his own movies. So there it is, this great masterpiece. And I'm going to show you some other works by Van Eyck. So here is Man in a Red Turban, which I think is in both the McKay book and the Fierro book. You definitely get that that feeling of three-dimensional depth. Here's another one. Now this is called the Madonna of Chancellor Roland, and note the background here. All right, so this is a radical step forward from Giotto merely 100 years earlier, which I guess is this is really extraordinary, because if you look at films from, say, the year 1920, you know, they're not radically different in the way they look than films that are made now. I mean, they may look, you know, they may look a little old, but that's because the film itself is old. But the depth that you see in contemporary films is not that radically different from 100 years ago. But this is extraordinarily radically different than Giotto. I mean, because this scene, this landscape scene goes back miles and miles and miles. And note the details here. You've got a Bible, and you've got the floor, and of course you notice the Renaissance elements as well. So you've got this classical architecture mixed with a biblical theme. This is the Madonna and Child. Notice the blonde Jesus. Okay. And then the contemporary hairstyles, and of course the contemporary setting. I think this is the town of Bruges. Okay, so there is Van Eyck. All right. Let's go to, okay, I'm gonna go back here. This is the Dresden triptych, also by Van Eyck. It's just absolutely redonkulous. Okay, how incredible this thing is. Okay, well, anyway, let's go here. Where are my notes? Okay, yeah, okay. Okay, so now Van Eyck was a big star in his lifetime and was extremely well known throughout the West, and his paintings actually went on traveling shows. And one of those shows went down to Florence, where it caught the attention of a merchant named Messina. And so Messina was so moved by these paintings, he literally walked from Italy to Bruges, where Van Eyck lived, in order to meet him. Now, one of the things that Van Eyck was very secretive about was the oil mixture he used to give it the photographic qualities that you see in these masterpieces. He was not revealing that information to anyone. But Van Eyck was so moved by this man Messina, who had walked the hundreds of miles from Florence to Bruges to meet him, and they became instant best friends. And to make a long story short, Van Eyck actually revealed the secret, the oil mixture secret, to Messina, and then Messina walked back to Florence and became an artist himself. And so the next couple of paintings I'm going to show to you are from Messina. Okay, so these are works from Messina after he learned that secret. So what happened is that that oil, that great innovation of oil painting became the next period, the next crucial phase in the evolution of Renaissance painting. So here's another great masterpiece by Messina here, another one from 1475. Now, what you see really quickly after Messina brings the secret back to Renaissance Italy is that begins, what many consider to be the absolute greatest period of Renaissance art. You might even consider it to be the greatest period of visual art in world history, and that is the period of the big three, Raphael, Leonardo, and Michelangelo, and you can actually add Botticelli to the mix as well. So here's Botticelli from 1500, the Adoration of the Magi. So yeah, without the revelation of the oil mixture, it would have probably taken much longer, perhaps never, for these paintings to have been made. There's Michelangelo, 1541. Of course, the album Madonna by Raphael. Here's another one from Raphael, the Colonna Madonna. Here is another Madonna by Leonardo da Vinci, Virgin of the Rocks. Now, this one is a little bit cheeky. So this is, let me see if I've got my notes on this one. Okay. I don't have the notes on it. But this is by the French painter Jean Fouquet. And this is really racy and really scandalous. So this is the Madonna and Child. And what you should know is that the model for the Madonna here was the King of France's mistress. Okay, so the king was Charles V, and this is actually his mistress who is the model for the Madonna. So that's pretty scandalous and pretty hilarious. Okay, so there you have it. This is part of a much longer PowerPoint presentation that I have, but I'm going to upload this particular PowerPoint to courses right now, and then you'll receive other instructions via email before tonight's class. But I will see y'all tomorrow. So have a great night, and hasta mañana.